The popular image of Taldor being a nation of inbred fops sipping tea as their empire burns isn't entirely baseless, but reducing the entire nation to only that does a disservice to its citizens and influence. Much of Avastan's culture and language stems from Taldor, and the Emperor influenced the history of 3 continents, but, overseen by rulers with more interest in luxury than the nation's well-being, Grand Prince Stavian III being only the most recent, the nation now is a shadow of its former self.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Dice Before Dishonor. When last we left our heroes, it was dust to dust, in disguises we trust. Our little fuffall went topside to the gallery to watch the miscreant Melifane Trant, and Sir Gildevarth and Sir Bartholomew had failed to impress the General Maxilar Pytharius, the High Stratos. I don't mean Blue Stratos like I mean the High Stratos, the leader of our army, walked off briskly. And I believe we were flipping the scene now to just outside the kitchens, where 2 halflings had donned the attire of Sir Winston, had ridden off on his wolf. Well, she rode, he chased. And now we turn our attention to Leon, dust in hand, and Sir Winston, who I believe I described as button, bulge, button, bulge, button, bulge. So you two gentlemen, what do you do?
Okay, well, Winston, now that you're looking the part, you were thinking of, would you mind taking a look among the kitchens? If you happen to see the bottle, could you please let me know that it's there? If not, I will have to go find it elsewhere.
Indeed. Seems like a good thing to do.
Meanwhile, I will attempt to distract the chef.
Right. So find the bottle. Can you describe it for me?
It will in all likelihood be the fanciest bottle of wine you've ever seen.
Fair enough.
I have an intelligence check, gentlemen.
You certainly may.
3.
On par and batting 1,000 as usual, and
that would also be 3 for me.
Right. No help from me. Gentlemen, fellow PCs, if I ask any player for an intelligence check, I'm fishing through their memories. So if you can think of something to add and nudge your fellow player going, hey, wasn't that the bottle, blah, 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 to help them along, by all means. You guys, although loving to separate your characters and separate the party, you are still a team of players that can, nudge, wink. And I'd rather have you guys bringing stuff up on air than just secret typing.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the bottle should have been donated by the
benefactor.
By the benefactor.
Nice lady pastry shop.
Yes, I know.
Has it been that long since we played this show? Lady Martella Lothede? Yeah.
It should have been donated by the Lothedes.
Mm.
And as it was being, presumably being used as a bartering chip for some of the nobles, as I say, it should certainly be a very fancy and probably well-kept bottle.
Oh, yes.
It may also be fair. It may also be a decent age and vintage.
Fancy
Indeed.
And schmancy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, donning my ill-fitting clothes, I will mosey on into the kitchen. They had a tray, the servers that we kind of exchanged clothing with.
Yes.
They had a food tray, serving tray.
Yep, they had. Do you remember? Anyone?
I don't remember what they had. Probably drinks. Hors d'oeuvres. I don't know.
I believe they had things that were not going very well. Like
they had foie gras.
Foie gras.
But that's just a nod to my James Bond obsession. So, get your spy on. Get in there. Tray in hand.
Tray in hand.
And sorry, Leon, what are you doing?
Because I believe, if I last remember, when we came up here, the chef was still in the hallway, or did he go back into the kitchens?
No, they got stuff to do.
Okay, so I don't actually need to distract the chef too much. In that case, I will return to the halflings that we were talking with, and make sure that they've changed properly, and ask them if they happen to know where I might be able to start my look.
Okay. So, surrounded and being adored, Wolf and Sylvia the halfling can't get near here, but there's Mike, kind of slumping, wearing the pimp purple crushed velvet suit, just kind of waiting, raising a hand. I'm still relevant, you come tap him on the shoulder.
So, Winston, how are you finding the evening?
This is not how I had planned my evening, but yeah, we're trying to make it work. Could you call me Winston really loudly? They seem to be more interested in my champion and, the lady that's showcasing the champion as opposed to Sir Winston himself, patting his little chest.
Unfortunately, that tends to be the result when traveling with Winston. Barkley does seem to take up a very large portion of the limelight.
This I am finding out on a case-by-case basis.
However, don't take it too harshly. The two of us can certainly have our own entertainment.
Okay, but like I told you before, I don't find you, even remotely attractive.
I was not at all referring to that. You're a member of the nobility for now.
Hey, so I could stay in character. And he leans in and does the, big stage whisper. He's like, Sir Winston isn't one of them. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. You were a knight. I'm sure you do know the story, do you not?
Oh, yeah. I was the guy that made the knowledge check. I know all about him, but I don't know him personally like you do. And I just wanted to know, if he happens to, how can I put this delicately as not to offend the entire internet, which I probably already have done.
Winston is much too appreciative of food.
Well, let's move on, because honestly, I was setting myself up for a joke that was implied, them letting everyone get angry, and then revealing the joke at the end, where the them was something completely different, but I've kind of blown it. So let's go back to you.
Sounds good. I do have a question for you.
Shoot. If you can save this train wreck, please do.
If I was wanting to store something, something of perhaps the alcoholic variety, where might I go to find that?
The kitchen.
In the kitchens?
Yeah, they have pantries and wine cellar in the back there. Everything you need.
It's in the back. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I dare say I may have to leave you, but I do also recommend certainly going towards something, some of the more meatier food trays. You do want to keep up your appearances.
Good point, he says. You there, waiter! Right? And another halfling who goes by looks at him and just kind of gives him a look like, dude, what are you doing not working? He goes chasing after him or whatever. So, Sir Winston.
Yes.
Can I have a bluff check, a perform acting, something you can do to pull this off where you think servant and because you are putting on a persona, Okay. You've been raised to be a certain type of person and you act a certain way, even though society doesn't accept it. But your father was a servant and you left that life. So even if you're not trained, a little light ding goes on in your head. It's like you can pull upon your youth.
Sure.
And even though you probably don't have a big bluff, you can roll that at par. Or I'll even give you a +2 to a perform act raw because of your upbringing. So you choose.
I'll just go with the bluff.
Okay.
Just go with the bluff.
All right. So you go in there. Give me the bluff a check.
12.
Okay. You're not convincing anyone you're the super servant, but it's not so bad where you screw up or don't dodge the right person or.
And I'll keep my nose down and avoid the head chef.
Yep.
And move head on straight back to the back of the kitchens, looking for the entrance to the wine cellar. And also on the way by, I'll drop the tray off.
Yep.
At a server station and pick up another one with a couple empty glasses.
Okay. Somebody gives you shit. Hey, you can't leave that there. Hence the 12 as opposed to something juicy like a 15. But you continuing on, Now they just think you're a dick of a waiter as opposed to but it drew a little bit of attention, but they, hey, what are you doing? That kind of thing. Go to the back, grab the tray. Okay. You don't find a wine cellar. What you find in the back are just sort of an extension of rooms, and they have stalls, closets, offices, that kind of thing. And they've set up something like a impromptu pantry, and they've set up something else as sort of an impromptu wine case. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of bottles on portable tables lined up. In groups.
Is there somebody overseeing
yes.
said bottles? Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So I will approach.
Okay.
platter in hand with a couple glasses.
Okay.
Excuse me. I've been given a request to supply some of the Lothid wine.
Really? Young man flips through a sheet. He actually has like a clipboard with like a scroll case thing on it, and he's flipping over. He says, no, those will be served later.
Right. The Lady Lothid herself sent me up. She wanted to share some of it with one of her companions in the gallery.
Did she now? Well, considering that this bottle of vintage was donated by her family and not Lady Lothid herself, I think it's best for your career here. No.
Well, I'll apply a little of my diplomatic tongue.
Are you sure? I would hate to have to go back and tell the lady herself that it's been held up due to... what's your name again?
Rupert.
Rupert. Right. I'm just, trying to look out for your best interest as well, good sir.
With a diplomacy check of 22.
22? I understand that we servants have to stick together, as your people say, but do you know the Lothid family?
Only by reputation, good sir.
Well, I do, and the lady you're bustling your chops for the wine is a bit of a... And he leans in quietly. A black sheep of the family, shall we say? And it wouldn't put it past her that she might possibly try to, shall we say, I don't know, get the jump or the credit for the wine her brothers have donated. Now, I understand where you're coming from, but I have strict instructions that this, and he actually motions to a certain table.
Yes.
with certain couple of bottles of wine on it. Table of donations from certain families and certain members all come out at a very appointed time, and he shows you the schedule, and he says, and it is not time.
I understand completely.
Now, before people start howling at me on the internet, did you see what we did there? 22 is a respectable roll, so I decided through his diplomacy, he got a knowledge reveal. He knows now exactly where the bottle is and type of thing, but the module does kind of override something here, and I'm going with it. So instead of just a failed check or the PC going, well, I got 22, but I guess, there's something must be in print. The DM's being a dick. I still like rewarding decent roleplay and a decent skill set that you've invested your character in diplomacy. So get something, even if it's not your objective.
I'll take it.
Okay. Not in front of him, not in front of Rupert. Hopefully.
And so I'll nod an understanding to Rupert.
Well, I'd best not come back empty-handed. Do you have a fair vintage I could bring in its stead? And I'll make explanations when I approach the lady.
Ooh, family intrigue. Put the lady off the scent. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. He says suddenly, just wickedly, his eyes lighting up. But I can't. And his face goes completely flat again. Is there anything else I can do for you?
I don't think so, sir. Enjoy your evening.
And I'll...
His eyes narrow at that comment since he's like sitting in the back of a class. His idea is to card the wine and get organized and bring certain waiters and come forward going, okay, it's time, I've been notified. He's the wine distributor,
So I'll head on out of the kitchen.
I didn't always used to be a kitchen aide, says Rupert, mumbling to himself. I used to study at the academy, wanted to be a singer, wanted to be a bard, wanted to do satirical dramas, but no, I'm here. Actually, a lot of actors and actresses start off as waitresses, so maybe Rupert still has a dream you haven't crushed or reminded him how badly he's doing in said career chase. But anyway, off you go.
So I'll make my way out of the kitchen, tray in hand with empty glasses in the hopes that it maybe still looks like I'm doing something so somebody doesn't grab me and go, oh, you there, do this.
Give me another bluff.
Oh, goodness. This isn't going to go well, I don't think. Oh, big number. 8.
Okay. Well, compared to the natural one I just rolled for anyone carrying a perception, you could...
Yes.
Frank's loving my new war for the crown dice. Maybe I should start dropping fantasy ground dice like you guys. Let's see what fantasy grounds would have said with that. A 3. No, okay. Whee. 19. All right.
So I'll head back. I'll head back out of the kitchen and I'll track down Akihiko.
All right. I'm assuming Leon you've finished with your halfling and you're on your way back, or you're still in the area. So
Yes, I'm still in the area.
not hard to find out. Meeting up somewhere between the Senate floor, which I should probably drag the map a little bit here. Whoop. The Senate floor and the kitchens. There's still a stream of people hustling and bustling. You guys take a little corner here and meet up. And what happens next?
Well, I managed to find out that the bottle is definitely in the back. Did you find it?
I didn't find it exactly, but I know exactly where it is in the back.
And I'll explain to him the wines and
Well, there's a table and there's a Rupert and there's another crushed dream of acting. Yeah, so you get the whole thing. All right.
And mentioned that he had indicated to that specific table as being that's where the supplied wines were, the families.
So as you lean in and describe this, the scene pulls back up to a bird's eye view of the Senate floor mulling and coming and going, and a railing encompassing an upper balcony of the gallery, where we find the scene settles on Fafal, who's been sort of shadowing Madame Trant from afar. Can I have a perception check, please, Fafal?
Perception of 7.
Okay.
Natural 1 on the dice.
Can't really see what she's doing. You know, you even lose sight of her a couple times, but because she settles in and, you know, starts talking to yet another, you're kind of assuming, it's like, look into a restaurant window. People are ordering food and eating. You assume this, and you kind of see them doing that. So you assume that she's schmoozing, you know, as far as anything very subtle, like a passing of a note or bullying or ha 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 or anything, you know, worthwhile. You just see her mulling in the crowds.
Okay.
How long do you want to stay up here? Till things change, or?
Yeah, I mean, just keep an eye on her. If she goes off somewhere else, then I would start heading back down and following her.
Okay. Now, I'm going to count those bluff rolls with the servants, because I want just to kind of double check, see if that's actually a way to influence a room, a way to influence this and that. Okay. So, every time we drop an event, like the lady's speech, you guys have a certain amount of social rounds in between the next event. And I've been very loosely tracking them. I've been asking for rolls in bulk. But to push this along, I think people are getting the idea of what can happen, what should happen, and enjoying our little side tricks or whatever. The bulk of the adventure, despite some dungeon crawling that we know it's going to come, is who you meet and how you influence them here. And despite people that you're specifically supposed to influence for the vote, there are a bunch of senators around that you are supposed to know or influence for up-and-coming adventures. But we'll get into that. But for right now, we've got Aiden and a Skyview Overwatch. We've got Winston and Jade plugging away at their mission. And we've got Varth and Bartholomew. Let's go to check in with Bartholomew for a minute here. Bartholomew?
Yes.
Guild of Arth, the last thing we did with you was he was sort of diplomancing your family's disgraced by name.
The horse's ass.
Yeah. What are you doing? Because you had you at range. He's pointing at you, looking at you, smiling, you give a thumbs up, but the man doesn't seem encouraged or whatever, and eventually he stalks off. But this kind of leaves you in the room at large. So while Sir Gildevarth was diplomancing the High Stratos, what are you working on here? What do you got going?
Yeah, I guess I'll just find a group of other nobles nearby.
Now, I believe you mentioned a couple episodes back, or at least in the last episode, you were looking for guys with calloused hands.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Spent a fair amount of time in the academy. Or maybe someone's parents of those from the academy.
Well, funny enough, in amongst people that are, shall we say, like here and there and back and forth and all this kind of thing, you guys were, recently drawn to the attention of Princess Eutropia. And you remember how I said in the adventure, you guys can go up, influence her. She acknowledges you if you do flag that influence. And the room and the whisper start that like, oh, these guys got the nod. We did an entire season of you guys earning your knighthood and getting the proverbial nod. So I've skipped that double influence, and it's in play. It's up and running. So to emulate that, right, you're actually, shall we say, approach
Okay.
a man in his early 30s. He's got short brown hair in, let's say, a Ferris Bueller style, and he's got a thick chin strap in sort of a Abraham Lincoln style going. Wears ceremonial armor, has dark brown eyes, and carries himself with quite a entitled manner. Comes right up on you from behind and says, "Well, an imposing specimen from any distance, I suppose. Still, I really don't see what all the fuss is about." You turn around, and you see a man who carries himself as important. And you just have that instant feeling. Can I have a knowledge nobility check, please?
Certainly. 19.
None other than Earl Caledon Vernocent himself. This is the guy who donated several trinkets in the arcade that we just stole. This is the guy who rumors abound that something's going on with his little barony, that he got disgraced out of his birthright and came running and promptly stuck his nose way up Prince Stavian's skirt. He's been throwing money and influence around in a very, very short time to climb the social ladder and reestablish himself right here in the capital.
All right. But does he have a reputation for being a warrior at all?
Yes, he does. He has a reputation for being proud. He has a reputation for having considerable political ambitions, which actually led him into lording, like as an earl, lording over a large parcel of land to the west, just outside the border of Taldor. What else do we know about him? He's recently become head of his household. What else is obvious with your role? Let's say that
His birth sign, maybe?
his birth sign. He's really big on I wouldn't say flag waving, but crest waving. Like, he's really interested in lineage, so his own family lineage and knowing how important your family lineage kind of thing is. He takes that stuff very, very seriously, and tracing his own history to people that had a crushing political enemies all the way back into Taldor's early glory days.
Huh.
Now, he's looking right down his nose at you, and he's also known not to be an ally of the princess.
Wait, so he's short. He's looking down at me from below me.
Oh, no, he's a decent height. He's a good 5'10", 5'11". Oh. He's shorter than you, but the looking down your nose, funny guy, means, he's head tilted back and eyes squinting, and we are not amused. What do you do?
Oh, if it isn't the mighty Earl Caledon himself.
He smiles and breaks character for a moment of disdain to give you that quick little thank you nod, like, you know me. Of course you do. Lets you continue.
So, how goes your sword arm?
Raises an eyebrow. I don't believe I quite follow. Is that some sort of rudimentary, lowbrow joke?
No, it's a legitimate question. You're a knight of the realm, are you not?
I am head of my family. And then he starts going on about, a whole bunch of embellished titles of this, I am this. You politely wait the 3 minutes.
No, I was merely inquiring as for your practice.
I assure you that my time here in the political arena and on my extensive land holdings have not even remotely dulled my combat edge, my sword, or my abilities well mounted. Sir Dunaldagan, he says pointedly, but he called you by the title. It's legal, but,
so you've heard of me.
Who hasn't, right? And he goes on, is like, who's not heard of the Dunaldagan family? And he brings up your shame. He brings up, Maxilar Pytharius is shunning you guys, how you are sort of, not a plight, but let's say practically considered squatters in the Pytharius lands that your father's estate is on. And, he insults you, but he does it eloquently. Recently knighted, through a fluke, blah, blah, blah.
But wasn't all of Taldor based off of conflict to make it the mighty Taldor it is today?
It is. It was. And it behooves me that someone of your questionable station has suddenly risen so quickly. I would assume, you being possibly one of Eutropia's new projects or pets, there's some sort of reason why she knighted you. Perhaps her own political gain, but...
Right.
Oh, does she? Well, I suppose she has a lot to learn about image here in the political arena. And he smiles and nods.
On Taldor. But you should know that when it comes to holding the title of a knight, strength is one of the most key components. And going under the most conflict will beget the most strength.
Of course. It's too bad that the head of our glorious army doesn't think that way about your family. Tell me, have you ever held a military position? Outside of your newly acquired knighthood.
My sword arm is the size it is because I use it.
For Taldor? On a battlefield? Towards our enemies, perhaps? I think not.
Towards all of Taldor's ends?
We'll see. And he just sort of nods and spins on his heel and goes off. Gillivarth.
Yes?
So perhaps Bartholomew is taking your lead as you go after this big fish that, has dissed his family, and you're giving him the smile and the nod. You did a decent chance at diplomancy, but didn't get very far with Maxilar. And when he finally leaves you, and you're ready to return to Bartholomew or your next target, you notice that he's rolled up on someone, or someone has rolled up on him. Can I have a knowledge nobility check, please?
Yeah. Let's see here. Knowledge nobility. 19.
Yes, you recognize the Earl as well. It's funny. Bartholomew was with you in the arcade when you and Fafal were stealing this guy's stuff that he donated as a last-minute big impression. You know, he's been dropping cash, artifacts, influence, and getting cozying up to Stavian quite efficiently. Has a reputation, as I earlier stated, for well, as an Earl, he holds lands. He's recently come into the title of head of his own family, and is a royal douchebag. But Bartholomew, as he deals with everyone, doesn't seem the least bit phased. The man, you can tell by his gestures and demeanor and squinting and head rolling, all this stuff is really playing him. And, you can't hear what the two men are discussing. It's not a very long discussion. And then finally, Earl just kind of, he looks like he's got sort of a mocking grin and just kind of walks off. Bartholomew just kind of turns to the next guy.
All right, so I'll make my way towards Lord Bartholomew, eventually kind of clapping my hand on his shoulder. It seems you and I are getting quite the cold reception tonight. Interesting.
It's more of the same for me.
Well, the Earl there has quite the reputation for stubbornness, shall we say.
Yes, as does that horse's ass you were talking with earlier.
So you're familiar with Maxilar?
All too well.
Did you guys Sorry, did you guys end up back? You guys ended up back in the actual arcade, didn't you? You're in the courtyard and you're back in the arcade. And the arcade is, according to my notes, I believe you... Have you guys thoroughly done this room?
Yeah.
Right.
I suspect so.
Yes. Sorry. So to push things along, do you guys have another target or another room in mind?
We don't. I mean, I'm just kind of looking for an opportunity to kind of help present itself.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like the crowd is not very receptive to us so far.
No, not so far. But then again, you guys didn't walk in here with a neutral position. You guys are already known to be pro-Utopia, which automatically, by reputation, that your guys, people doing like knowledge nobility against you guys, do we know who these guys are? Oh yeah, type of thing. And they assume you're in one camp or the other. Which, funny enough, kind of plays against the adventure's intent, but I thought it'd just be even more interesting if not only were you all Cavaliers, we played out Honor's Echo, and now you guys are all known as, princesses, dudes. As the Earl said, while Bartholomew was making a point about, strength and, man of action is what really counts to guard our country, here in the political arena, rumors, schmoozing, that kind of thing, the Earl was making a point to him that it's just kind of like, boy, she's got a lot to learn if she's backing someone like you. Might I suggest you guys possibly try to, close ranks a bit and try and conquer a room or a person a little bit more en masse. You guys are spread out all over the place. Now, there is merit in the fact that you guys aren't all five like jumping on the bottle mission or all five doing your personal missions, but the two of you have been in these front rooms. People are coming and going. Like I said, you guys want to eyeball somebody new or try a whole different room and gather up, other people. We still have a few social rounds,
But let's kind of try a different room. I mean, we've kind of played this one out, I feel. So we are going to move on down to the next little area, kind of to the next gathering of people, try to ease into the conversation over there. So, kind of looking out across the promenade there, do I see anybody that we haven't quite hit on yet?
Well, coming into the very next room, the courtyard where the bees were and the speech were or whatever, even though you're still currently carrying that penalty, you haven't done much to the room itself because an event dropped in your lap.
Let's fix that.
Yeah, it's a fresh room. Now, you guys did try some handling animals and stuff. Like there was a bit in a couple episodes ago where you were like petting the animals and showing the nobles, handle animal and everything. And Bartholomew was trying to aid you, but unfortunately, those roles fell flat. You guys,
I was petting.
Yeah, you guys don't remember that bit? No, trying handle animal, and then we were going on about handle animal versus riding versus what's a Cavalier skill? Do we have any ranks to put in it? That kind of thing. But there's, a plethora of skills that you guys got to kind of guess and try your hand at that could influence any given room.
Well, I'm going to try to diplomance the nearest crowd.
Okay.
That's kind of my strength, and I'm going to kind of lean on it pretty heavily for this until something else kind of shows that it is the more effective tool for the group.
Okay.
I I went to assist you. So when we go walking up to a crowd, it's not just walking up to a crowd. I got the hand on the shoulder. It's like the laughing walking in. Like he just finished telling me the best joke ever.
Oh yeah. Cool kids draw attention. No, yeah, sure. Let's see if we can't help you guys out here a bit. Sensing motive and perceiving in a room, you can kind of read the mood, what they are already talking about. Now we went straight for the petting zoo because the whole room had a theme, and you guys tried your hand at that. Didn't work. Backed off. Did some stuff with Pythagoras back in the arcade. Met the Earl. Now you guys come back. Ha 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 ha. So sensing motive, perception, gentlemen.
Sensing motive.
Sense that motive.
So sense motive, I got a 15.
Okay.
Just to try to read the crowd.
Yep.
As he's in, we're kind of laughing, having a good time, enjoying the party.
Mm-hmm.
12 to aid.
Okay. That brings you up to 17.
Yes, sir.
The noted fact, when you and Fafal were there, and he knew Lady Martella Groalia, and you guys are already noted without having to re-influence the princess. You guys are known as her guys, giving you certain bonuses. It allows you to hold a check and re-influence somebody.
All right.
So you ran in here, and everybody thought it was rude that you were moving about during her speech, even though you're saving the day from killer bees. That on par with people knowing that you're pro princess, I would say cancels out the bonus, but you still, I'd still give you a fresh chance at this room. Like the room hasn't decided that they like or dislike you. I still have to say it's a very open room for you guys. Or if you guys want to shuffle players, run after your buddies, bring some people back, What's going on in the room? Well, obviously, everyone loves talking about local events. Knowledge local is, what's going on lately, how well you know a pair and stuff. That is always a hot topic. That's a given. They're talking about engineering, like the actual pens, keeping of the animals, what would be required, the sturdiness of the gate, that kind of thing, which then people start turning into like, well, I have 12 stables. And, they turn every subject into their advantage and talking like to show off or whatever, whether they know something, love these bolts. They really hold up on these. You see this gate's inferior, going on and on, that type of thing. So there's some loose talk about engineering. There is always the wandering performers. These people are hungry for entertainment, and besides all the backstabbing and schmoozing and something interesting like, ooh, look, a petting zoo, you still have halfling troops, regular bards, people, students of the Cavaliers Academy, that type of thing, mulling about. They're juggling, they're dancing, little poems going on, that kind of thing. Always big, because it's a gala. It's a bit of a show-off. There are trophies and paintings and art in the first room. There's a whole bunch of live animals in this room. The back room is a little bit more serious. There's fine food. A light supper is scheduled to happen soon. It's a big event, but it is have like this party feel to it, despite how much serious government things are about to like drop very soon. So any sort of performing, would probably go over well in this room.
So I think what I'll do, if they're talking about engineering, I have 11 or X amount of animals. Can I try to identify that person and then try to, try to work up? Oh yes, I've heard you've got quite the stable. This, that, or the other. Try to play up on.
Yeah. Now, like I said, this is a room and this is a group, but whoever seems to be whatever schmo is sort of leading the conversation. If you want to get in on an aid and draw attention and bolster him. Because yet another person like yourself is interested in the group's conversation. That works fine, sure.
Yeah, okay. So
it would come down to a knowledge engineering or, some kind of perform or whatever. You can bluff, I guess you could say, and you're making him look good. But remember, your end game to hit these specific skills is to make the room impressed with you. If you just kind of go with the flow and get people talking about stuff and make Bob look good, you're burning social rounds and you are not influencing the room. You're helping the group influence itself or somebody, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And your intent here is to gain influence for your party, for your name, for yourself. Being known to be knowledgeable about the topic Bob just dropped is a good thing. Agreeing with Bob makes you just another sort of, oh yeah, Bob, you're the man. And they just remember,
I was thinking maybe Bob likes me, so that could be something, but apparently it's not. But I don't know anything about engineering, so I can take it, I guess.
We're back to the classic problem. We have a small skill set.
Right.
I have a pretty...
However, you guys do, like I said, you guys can move through rooms. There are other rooms. There are other people.
Engineering room, like the plague.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard nope.
Yeah, it's a little big, more of a sandbox, so... But sure, you guys read a room. You know, and do a bit of a schmooze, you know, and test the waters. But you're not unpopular here, but you don't see an opportunity to like increase your popularity or influence, and you move on.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for a room where I think that kind of social interactions will play into my skill set. That's what I'm looking for.
All right. Coming into the Senate floor, there are several people of note. Okay. And once again, you know, the two of you are, shall we say, you know, set upon by someone of import. And this time they approach both of you politely, but it's obvious through the man's dress that he has eyes for Varth. Knowledge and ability, gentlemen.
I can certainly try that one. Let's see. Knowledge and ability got a 15.
Okay. And Bartholomew?
I got a 19.
Okay.
Damn.
Another Earl. Earl Gahaz Varima.
Gahaz Varima?
Yep. This man is young, late 20s, early 30s best, but I would have to say late 20s. Not to stereotype or offend, but he does have the sort of Prince of Persia look going on here. Dusky skin, long black hair, big dazzling smile, wears the golden Kelishite Osirian kind of colors in his dress with green emerald colors and whatnot.
Okay. I will kind of identify him, kind of brighten up, saying that, you know, I'm interested in hearing him, and I'll call him out by name.
Okay.
Earl Varima, I didn't expect to find you here.
Now,
how have you been?
He's actually Vidrani. So I mentioned Kelishite, I mentioned Osirian. If we go just off the coast of Kelishite, now Osirian we know is sort of like an Earth's Egypt. Katapesh is sort of like an Earth's Arabia. Just off the coast are a bunch of islands. And these islands are sort of a mid-eastern Mediterranean, I would say would lean on sort of an East Indian culture. More scarves, you know, that type of thing. And he's Vidrani himself. Now, that being said, he actually represents a mountainous region near northeast Zamar. You guys remember Zamar? Zamar is the port. It's sort of like a fortification, last defense against the anti Katapesh, you know, Kassarian Empire. The river where you met Fafal, the privateer, she attacked his boat. She's likely ported out of Zamir.
Okay.
So he's sort of a foreign ambassador to that area, and you can tell he's the type of person that, like, he's young, he's very influential, but because of his race or because of his station, you know, the country or whatever, he's necessary. It's like Taldor saying, "Oh no, look, we're not at war with these guys. Look, here's an ambassador. Here's these people. This Earl is, you know, important to us." That type of thing. But he proudly wears not the country's colors, but his culture's colors. Okay. Anyway, you call him by name. And he says, "Lord Varth, you flatter me. I must say it is a privilege and an honor to meet you." And he extends his hands. Both of them, palm out.
Am I familiar with greeting at all?
Yeah, this is how they shake hands. The palms come out, and you can choose to take one, but he'll probably grasp your shaking hand with both.
Okay.
They're really happy to see it, you know, type of thing. The hands come out. You go to shake his hand with a single. He grabs your hand in a handshake, but the back of the hand goes over the back of yours, and he does the double, very happy to see you. You know, the big shake, you know.
Yep. Okay. I hope you're finding the accommodations and drink acceptable.
Okay. He's flamboyant. Not overly gregarious, but he's a little flamboyant, and he's making a public display of favoritism towards you. This is obvious. And these people usually have two reasons for this. One, instead of a silent nod, they like, "Dude, I really like you. I like your style." Or they're trying to gain your favor. Sorry, what was your question again?
I was just going to say, I hope he finds the accommodations and drink acceptable.
Taldown and wine is a little watered down for my taste, but a man who has traveled abroad, even to my home country and beyond, I'm sure has tasted both Katapeshian wine, spiced wine, and he leans in and possibly even, imbibed some of the, shall we say, rare tobaccos and pipe.
Well, you know, one does as culture demands when they travel. Yes, I agree. The wines here are nothing like those from your region. So what brings you here today?
I am representing my family, the Verma family. I Well, personally, I actually find it, though some might find it offensive, I actually enjoy speaking of my ancestral homeland. Don't forget, I am a direct descendant of the earliest Valdrani immigrants here to Taldor. So you could say I have a tradition and a family stake in this country, as well as, and he kind of shows his clothes, not forgetting where I came from. But you, sir, he stands back, a man of northern Taldor, Black Creek, if I'm not mistaken, for you to embrace openly Sarenrae after she has so, shall we say, discordantly been dismissed from the accepted circles of this country, only recently reestablished. You, sir, I believe, are a pioneer. So he's talking about his family and, how he's so proud about first immigrant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elven Tongue War, 500 years. Sarenrae worshippers and clerics blamed, and the whole religion was shunted and tossed out. Only recently, shrines, clerics, and all that have been let back in, and it's no longer illegal to worship Sarenrae. However, you don't just get rid of hundreds of years of blame. So a lot of the old fuddy-duddies, a lot of your proverbial Taldarian, they're not really big on the religion, but young people, and this is still a port. Opera is a huge, huge trade center for the entire Inner Sea region, and the place is packed with people, merchants from a dozen countries. They bring their culture, they bring their goods, and they bring their religions. But to practice them openly, poof, we have a shrine, sacred ground, back to Sarenrae. That's a big deal. And to have you walking around with your shield, to have you go and stay across the border, learn what you can, come back and be an open, shall we say, advocate for the religion. It's not like you're running around jumping up on soapboxes with the clerics of Sarenrae, but it's been whispered, it's becoming known, and like you said before, you do not deny your belief in the goddess. And obviously that, along with your recent sort of upswing in popularity, now you are not a knight, you're a lord, it's automatically given. But they believe that you led these knights, these two servant classes, this young Vinmark noble. They just believe because you're the highest ranking guy. Even though technically young Vinmark has the same status as you, they may not view him the same because he's a Taian youth, because he's adopted to the Ulfin family, which was recently ennobled X amount of years ago. The Vilmarks are the Viking Ulfin. It's his nobility is complicated. Yours is pretty simple. So in the eyes of the court, they would possibly just make the assumption you're the guy. Now comes the conspiracy, the intrigue, the scandal of who you worship, and you make no bones about it. This guy's impressed. At least I think he would be. So, funny enough, after you were saying everyone doesn't like us, this guy just comes up and starts literally glad-handing you, seems sincere, pioneer, sir. It's good for you, Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll tell him, if Opera wants to stay relevant in the trade lines, we must be open to new ideas. Recent events have shown us more than anything.
I agree.
Now time for open lines.
I could not agree more, sir. Keeping peaceful relations with Taldor's neighbors, including its former territories. He's talking about the expansion wars all the way to Cheliax even, was a colony. I must say I'm very eager to assist in de-escalating some of these problematic and potentially war-triggering situations that have been recently brought to my attention. Have you heard of this?
I may have been out of the loop a little bit while I was out of country. Please continue.
Okay. But first the drink, and he just sort of glides Gildevarth off, and Bartholomew, you're free to tag along, but you kind of feeling you're just kind of being shunned. He seems really into, he's got his little man crush going on here. Do you want to stay on Gildevarth's shoulder, and again with the aids and everything, and also soak up what's going on, or do you want to go it alone somewhere?
No, I'll stick with Gildevarth.
Okay. He guides you over somewhere to a servant. We get a drink, that type of thing.
I'll take, two drinks off the table, hand one to Lord Bartholomew, and then introduce him. Bartholomew, have you had the pleasure of the Earl's company?
No, only the reputation of his deeds ahead of him.
Forgive me. Where are my manners? Of course, the brave, the proud, Is it true that you led the charge out into the desert to try to assist in saving that poor young man? And he's talking about the kid that we lost. The family. Do you remember the mom, go save my kid, and unfortunately we were too late. Damn scorpion, double crit and everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was I was part of the party. My fellows were just as much as that as I were.
No, you are Donald Dagan. I know this name. Proud history in military. Why, the Donald Dagans, and he starts going all the way back as far as your family goes. And even if you were an opponent to like his original country, or like I said, he is an immigrant, so he believes Taldor is his own. But I wouldn't say brags, but he respectfully mentions campaigns great-great-grandfather was in that may have actually had that border crossing as an opponent to the east side. And he talks about how your family always conducted itself with honor, had always given quarter, didn't like chase down and slaughter, didn't, do anything dirty, fought war in the gentleman's way. We cut their supply lines, we let them, starve, but before they actually do, we start sending messengers and say, do you want to give up? We know you're euchred. We don't really want to fight. That kind of thing. Like, you do what you got to do. But the Donald Dagan family, according to this man, has a reputation for fighting honorably, justly. And, even in the middle of a war, I mean, there's bloodshed, but then there's slaughter. Then there's, like burning down towns and all, that kind of crap. And anybody under your unit, anybody that, even high military advisors that had a Donald Dagan under him took Donald Dagan advice seriously. And this, I might say, goes all the way up to your grandfather, who was respected by the Tal'Darim nobility, and your father, who up until recently, before the disgrace by the head of the military disgracing him, was a respected man. And if he knows you, he probably knows this, but he politely doesn't mention it and talks about more of your lineage. But this guy does seem, like Earl, big on history and lineage and past mistake type of thing, and is politely bringing up, the good side, the good history of your family.
It was always taught that it's not just a matter of winning a fight that's important, but how you win that matters.
Indeed. No war can last forever, and what is left after said war? The people, the trade must recommence, reconnect to the people, to the land, turns back to Gildervarth, to our gods. I am so glad to have met you both. Now, he doesn't try to shake your hand, Bartholomew. He doesn't glad hand you like he did Lord So-and-so, but he does seem, now that he's been formally introduced, and apologizes for like, oh no, I know you, goes on, whatever. His stance changes, and he seems to just address, back and forth. And you guys have a lovely chat with this guy until enough time burns that either he's pulled away or he says, I'm so sorry, I could talk to you all night. I have to go, that type of thing. And I'm hoping he leaves you feeling a little bit better about the evening.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't pull this crap just because, like, you guys were having a hard time. I'm looking at these nobles, and again, because of Season 0, because of stuff that Gildervarth did, I believe this guy would, like, this guy did what? He worships who? And I got to meet this guy. And as soon as he pegs you, he just rolls right up on you. Fafal.
Yes.
Patience. But it will pay off. Finally, Lady Martella, we forget magical pins. She contacts us and asks you all to meet her up in the gallery. The other side of the balcony across the room and all the way around the long way for you, Fafal, but she's, she asks Lord Varth and them to meet her. Now, you have a pin. You hear this because you're wearing Varth's pin. So he's probably not getting this message. But Leon, we'll get back to him, though I owe Leon some time to actually do something with Winston down there in the bottle, Bartholomew, and unfortunately Frank is still talking to the Veldrani guy. You guys, your benefactor summons you. What do you guys do?
I would start walking over to her, but I know the rest of the party's going to take a while. So still trying to keep an eye on my current mark.
You'd have to go to, like I said, she's sort of, you find Lothid and she's in the back of a room. You're going to have to kind of like risk that your mark isn't going to wander off. You're going to have to abandon your position. Okay. Or you could stay put, because she's not calling you. You have Varth's pin. You're pretty sure, one of the guys will tell her, if you want to stay on this chick, and, that's Varth's problem, that you have the radio and he doesn't.
I'll stay up until I see the rest of the party coming. And if Varth isn't with them, I'll go get Varth. If Varth is, then I'll go with the party to meet her.
Okay.
But at the moment, I won't respond. I'll keep an eye.
All right. Bartholomew?
I'm going to address Samish directly. Samish, I believe a certain lady is waiting on you to meet her.
Oh?
Yes. If it was a while ago and you've had so much on your plate, perhaps your memory doesn't serve you the best. But I was there at the time that you arranged this meeting, and she would be very upset if you were to abscond.
I'll smile and grasp your shoulder. That's why we make such a good team, Lord Bartholomew, keeping me in check constantly. Excuse us, if you will, and I will.
Of course, he says, a big grin. He's taking this as like some kind of like, there's someone I have to meet. I may have to marry her into her family. Excuse me. Of course. You do you, eh? I'll take that.
All right.
Grabs Bartholomew's drink that's half drank. I'll take that. Moves on. Thanks, buddy.
As soon as we're out of earshot and walking away, it's Lady Lougheed. She summons us.
Oh, well then, let's make haste. And we'll, where are we meeting her? No, lead the way.
Up in the gallery.
Off we go.
We proceed.
Slowly but surely, first Bartholomew and Lord Varth, Fafal, climb those stairs. You see them, not head past your position because you can see them on the far side, heading up into the room where she said she was.
Okay.
And eventually, because I have to go back and we have to sort of time this out, how long it may or may not have taken. Eventually, I believe Leon and some halfling servant you don't recognize in the slightest heads up the stairs to all his joy. So again, do you want to stay on Trant and just, you rely on a pin, or do you want to? Kevin, a perception check?
Yeah, sure. 13.
She's doing what you guys are doing: working rooms, working people, gaining influence, pushing her influence on people by the look of it.
Okay.
But she seems to have settled to, this one room and is staying there.
Okay. Well, it seems like she's settled. I know Gildervarth will inform me if there's anything that he needs me to do. So I guess I'll look to influence the room or see if there's anybody of note to influence up here.
Okay. The gallery itself, let's go through my notes here. This is where the performance was with Our Lady Halfling. And unbeknownst to you, they tried, but you're not sure if they failed or succeeded. But I'd have to say that the room is still, give it a go. Can I have a perception or sense motive to see, what's going on up here?
Yeah, sure.
Now, I'll tell you what's obvious. Kids, entertainment, keeping people that aren't smooching politically up and out of the way. A lot of guests, some of the senators' aides. Now, there are nobles up here. There are senators up here that are, like, taking in the floor and checking out the movements of the floor and, that type of thing. But there's also some of the little private parties. Hey, meet your buddies up in the loft kind of thing where you can have a quiet conversation. Not so secret as over in the A5 over there where, like, little closeted rooms. But you could just kind of like, stepping out on the porch for a smoke kind of thing. Oh, how's it going, Bob? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I got you.
So what do you got?
I got a 18 on sense motive.
Okay. These people are treating the gallery like a parlor. Parlor tricks, if you get what I'm talking about. Skills that would induce parlor tricks, sleight of hand, acrobatics, disguise, certain performances, and whatnot, will probably amuse these people that are possibly looking for a momentary distraction from the gala itself. And also up here on one end, Lothie's side, the other side, you got the kids and the actual entertainment going on.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll head over to where the kids are and whatnot in the parlor tricks, and I will go perform some as well.
Okay. So what have you got? Performance, sleight of hand?
I have both sleight of hand and acrobatics.
Sure, go nuts.
All right. Let's do acrobatics. 23.
Okay. Being fast on the draw, not even realizing that you're the guy that nudged him, making him drop his drink, and then in a very flashy move, recovering it and saving him, and you kids have fun tonight kind of thing, guy with his drink, and the lady's trying to impress, and that kind of stuff. You set up situations and tumble your way through them, and other people notice this, Mr. Smooth, that type of thing, quick reflex guy. And above the DC, we'll save up some points for you here. But eventually, gentlemen, we all must descend upon Lady Lougheed herself. She has, at the back of the gallery, one of the larger rooms where the people are being entertained, she has a large table sectioning off a back corner with fresh coffee on it. And she sees you guys appear one by one and motions you over, and then moves us sort of like around behind the table out to the back of the gallery. And that cricket made out of mechanical components, light bulb and brass, is there, making its usual creepy chick 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 creepy chick 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 noise, drowning out not our conversation, but molding it enough that people in the vicinity really can't pick out what we're talking about. When you first come upon her, she's watching a bunch of jugglers and, is gently clapping, composes herself. You see the coffee. She moves you guys around it, sets down her little bug. A bunch of chairs block your way, waiting for everyone to finally show up. Or perhaps not even waiting on Winston.
Yeah, that guy's always late.
Are you enjoying the gala, gentlemen? Now, I didn't ask you here just to look over your shoulders. However, there is a young woman here, Melphane Trant, the daughter of Senator Trant. She is a belligerent, narcissistic ass, and a bully as well. If she's here, it's likely to intimidate one or more of the junior senators into backing her father. If one or more of you could keep an eye on her for the rest of the evening, and possibly quietly intercede should she try, I know this might tie up a lot of your time, at least for one of you. I would be grateful. This I find funny because if you guys hadn't noticed, or anyone like Aiden hadn't already noticed Trant and smelt something going on and hadn't chased her around, Lothid literally at this point puts you guys on her. So I wouldn't say, Aiden, that you'd wasted your time. I'd say, if anything, you're ahead of the game, even though you kind of timed out and burnt that. So I'm going to give you a +2 bonus for your next roll to either influence a person or a room, not just because there's that aid bonus of watching the coming and going, you know what I mean, but for taking one for the team. I didn't take your separation as something like I'm splitting the party or I'm going off and doing my own thing. It's almost like, you know what, I got to go over here. I don't get to have the fun. I really think this person is worth following, and I appreciate that as a DM. So, sir, I'm going to give you a +2 bonus to your next roll where it really matters, where you're like, I got to do this check, I got to do this thing. And you have to remind me because I'm likely to forget.
As am I.
Now, however, that said, gentlemen, but before you run off, and she goes over your evening. Now, because the system is sort of new to us, I didn't wait for Lothid. This is where, in character, Lothid would talk to you about your progress. Because through the whispers, I've heard how you're, doing well in influencing the arcade and even the gallery itself. There's still the Senate floor, the kitchens. How are we doing with our mission? Turns to Leon specifically because she has a personal stake in that mission. How are we doing with, looking amongst you guys? There were stuff to steal, bottles to poison, messages to deliver, right? And you guys are only halfway through this. So she can judge by your reactions of people going thumbs up and some of you guys going, it's like, fine, no, gentlemen, you have time. I do want you to enjoy yourself. There are plenty of quote unquote DM social rounds left to, before the next event drops on you. But she takes this time to check in. However, she seems really, really like, for a lady to have a personal, like she literally called this woman a bunch of not nice names. And it's like, she's going to do something. I know it. Stay on her, or at least one of you. Do you guys have any questions for her?
I might. I don't know how things go.
Since we kind of like cobbled together this encounter before you finished or didn't finish your mission, how about this? I asked you to get a feel for certain people. However, do you remember I encouraged you to start your own political career, right? You're not just working for me, gentlemen. You're working for yourselves. And there's, of the 222, senators that are currently here, gentlemen, there are still a half a dozen I could name. Someone like the Duke, Gregory Bacchus Talbot II, Earl Gamez Verimia. Frank, you just met him. The Marquis, Tansha Starborn, she says, looking at Leon. That's a gnome who actually runs. Do you remember how you waited by the druid's side for aid when she was wounded, right? Her people have a representative, doesn't run the town, but her people have a Marquis that represents the gnome's interest way up there in the woods here in Opera. And that woman is here tonight. Viscountess Octavia Nicodemus, she goes on. Lord Rilmard Castaner, Landgrave Ogviar Jarlborn, the Lady Marquis Charlotte de Champs, who looks a lot like Anne Hathaway, she says, according to the art. Lady Zahira Clement, Baronet Dernis Saito, Grand Duke Afranus. They have very open political views. They have I wouldn't say you could influence them for their vote, But these are powerful people that you should get to know and try to get on your side or possibly set up a rapport with. Gentlemen, you've mentioned how you have a specific skill set, knowledge, nobility. Well, next week, we're going to roll out that one skill a lot. As the name list that I just mentioned off, we'll see who you know, what you know about them openly, and how you might actually choose to go about these people, influence them on top of your targets next time on Dice Before Dishonor, the Endless Schmooze. Say goodnight, Bartholomew.
Good night, Bartholomew.